May and the Pirate Queen by Tony Bradman, illustrated by Skula Anderson. Long ago, a young girl called May lived with her family on a farm in the hills, not far from the sea. It was a hard life. Her parents were very poor, and they had many children to feed. May was the oldest child, and she did all she could to help. She fetched water and carried wood. She fed the animals. She looked after her little brothers and sisters. "Let's hope we get a good rice crop this year," said May's father. But that night there was a terrible storm. Their crop was ruined. "Now we will starve," wailed May's mother. "We have too many mouths to feed," said her father. "We must think of something to do." A couple of days later, May's parents had some news for her. "You will go to live with your Uncle Feng," said her father. "He will feed you and may give us some money if you work on his farm." May stared at him and burst into tears. "Please don't send me away," she begged. "Uncle Feng is a horrible man." It was true. Uncle Feng was nasty and cruel and mean to his own wife and children. May was sure he wouldn't treat her very nicely at all. She wanted to help her parents, but she didn't want to live with Uncle Feng. "You will do as you are told," her father shouted. "No, father, I will not live with Uncle Feng," May shouted and ran away. May ran through the rice fields until she reached a big tree. She sat sobbing and thinking about Uncle Feng. But after a while, she dried her tears and began to think. Maybe her parents were right. Maybe working for Uncle Feng was the only way. Then suddenly, she heard the sound of shouting coming from the nearby village. Smoke was rising from the houses. May went to see if she could help. She ran straight into the arms of a huge pirate. May kicked and struggled, but the pirate was too strong. He picked her up and carried her off to the beach. May saw lots of the villagers being taken down to the beach too. "You belong to Qing Shi now," said one of the pirates. "She will decide what to do with you." The pirates took May and the other villagers out to their junk. It was a large ship with lots of oars and cannons. A red flag flew from the tallest mast, and a fierce dragon was painted on the mainsail. "We're all going to die," wailed an old man. "What are you talking about?" said May. "Who is this Qing Shi?" "She's the terror of the sea," replied the old man. As the junk sailed on, the old man told May all about Qing Shi. She had a fleet of 500 pirate junks. These junks sailed along the coasts, attacking villages and stealing whatever they could. The emperor had tried many times to defeat her, but Qing Shi won every battle. "People call her the great and terrible Qing Shi. Her men are the toughest pirates who have ever lived," said the old man. "But they're terrified of her too." May listened in silence. "Qing Shi sounds very unpleasant," she thought to herself. Later that day, they reached the rest of the pirate fleet. It was an amazing sight. There were pirate junks as far as May could see, each bristling with cannons and packed with fierce-looking pirates. One was bigger than the rest. "That must be Qing Shi's ship," said the old man, his voice shaking. They stopped beside it and a gangway was set up between the two junks. Suddenly, all the pirates looked nervous. Qing Shi was coming. Qing Shi was a small woman, but she had a fierce face and an angry stare. "What shall we do with the new prisoners, Qing Shi?" asked a pirate. Qing Shi walked slowly along the deck, studying them closely. "Keep the young ones to work for us," she said at last. "Get rid of the rest." Everyone knew what that meant. Most of the villagers would be thrown overboard. This made May very angry. "That's not fair," she yelled at Qing Shi. How can you be so cruel?" Qing Shi came over and stood in front of her. Everybody fell silent. "You dare to speak to me, child?" hissed Qing Shi, glaring at May. "Yes, I do," said May. Pirates and villagers alike gasped in horror. For a moment, Qing Shi said nothing. Then she started to laugh. "I like your bravery," Qing Shi said. "Nobody ever speaks to me like that." "Well, maybe somebody should," said May. "Then you might be nicer." Qing Shi laughed again and put her arm round May's shoulders. "We should go to my cabin for a proper chat. Release the prisoners." Thank you," said the old man. Everybody else just stared open-mouthed. Qing Shi ignored them all and took May below deck to her cabin. Qing Shi's cabin was like a room in a palace. It was full of wonderful things. She gave May something to eat, and they talked. Qing Shi asked lots of questions, and May told her about the ruined crop and Uncle Feng. "Ah, I ran away too, a long time ago," said Qing Shi. "Maybe you'll become a pirate like me." "Oh, I hope not," said May. "I don't think I'd like that." Qing Shi's laughter was so loud that it could be heard all over the ship. Qing Shi told May all about herself too. To May's surprise, it turned out that she was tired of being a pirate. "I'd like to retire, but the Emperor is always chasing me," she said. "He doesn't like pirates." And as if to prove her right, one of her lookouts yelled that they were under attack. Qing Shi sighed. "You see," she said, "you stay here and hide. A battle is no place for a young girl." Qing Shi won the battle, of course, and the pirates cheered their leader. "Now it's time I took May home," she told her pirate men. Qing Shi took May all the way home, right to her parents' farm. May's parents were so happy they hardly noticed the pirates. "I am sorry," said her father. "We promise we won't send you to Uncle Feng. We'll manage somehow." "Perhaps I can help," said Qing Shi. "I will give you a chest full of gold and silver, but the real treasure is your brave daughter. Be sure to look after her, for she is more precious than all the treasure in the world." Then Qing Shi made her men rebuild the village to show that she was sorry for what she did to the villagers. Thanks to Qing Shi, from that point on, life wasn't so hard for May and her family. Her parents still worried, but they were happy most of the time. As for the great and terrible Qing Shi, eventually the Emperor and Qing Shi stopped fighting and started talking. She decided it was time to retire. After that, Qing Shi led a quiet life. Well, most of the time anyway. And she never forgot May, the girl who had stood up to her.
May and the Pirate Queen. May runs away from home. What will happen when she is captured by the Pirate Queen?